It says thriller, a deadly game, dark twists. In the past month since starting this whole thing, I have seen so many of my friends reading this and loving it. Journeying back to the year 1320. So yes, I'm spending $30 on a secondhand paperback, but again, it's about the experience, the personalization. What? Hello friends, it's Kayla. Welcome to part 2 of whatever I've called this video. For somebody who's as hyper organized as myself and works in marketing, it's shocking how last minute I decide what to call videos, how they should look. But we're here and we're ready to read. Let me give you a quick recap. I decided to do 5 kind of blind date with the books, or have other people, businesses, or whatever choose books for me. We went to my local indie bookstore, we went to a big name bookstore, we used the library, we used a book subscription service, an Etsy shop, and we ended up with these 5 books. So I'm gonna read all of these in the next week or so. I'm also gonna slip in some other things potentially. There were some other things that were recommended that I feel like it would be doing a disservice to not give a try. But right now we're gonna focus on these 5 and we're gonna hang out all week and vlog. I have decided, okay, first of all, actually let me catch you up because this is different than copy I got from the library. I had to give it back and then I was gonna re-reserve it, but I was like, I already supported my local library. Why don't I just buy the cover that I really love from Book Depository? It took like a month to get here, but I knew I wasn't filming this for a couple more months. So a lot has happened. I've gotten the other book box subscription things, and it does feel right to start with the shortest book. I always like to start with the shortest book in these types of videos so I can feel accomplishment right off the bat. And also, I'm weirdly most curious about this. I already know my reaction to it is probably not going to go over well, so I'm just hoping that I love this for my sake and your sake, and then perhaps I'll have time to get into the other ones that were sent to me. So we're going to start with Einstein's Dreams, then we're going to go to The Midnight Bargain. I'm going to read Never Have I Ever, and then I think The Starless Sea, and I'll finish with Dorothy Must Die. Ooh, and I'm also gonna put these in order of what I predict is going to be my favorite to least favorite, just for fun because I love a good guessing game. If you also want to put your prediction in the comments below, that'd be sweet. Start here. This is not solely based on these books, it's based on historical context. Then I'm gonna say this. And then, though this was the only one that I had like picked up myself, more often than not, thrillers end up being 3 stars for me. I'm gonna put The Midnight Bargain here, and I have to put The Starless Sea at the top just because I get so many comments telling me that I'm either gonna love or hate this. And so it's either the top or bottom, and that's the one I have the highest hopes for. So let's see first what Einstein is up to, or what Alan Lightman has to say about Einstein. I actually have Einstein bookmark. Hold on. It's funny because I was talking about Page Habit earlier and my love for it, and they gave a little unique bookmark in every single one of their boxes, and this one has Einstein. It says, "The only thing that you absolutely have to know is the way to the library." But then it feels kind of blasphemous to not use the bookmark that came in the bookmark box. Maybe I'll need 2 bookmarks. See you in a sec. So this book, I've read 3 stories. I'm in the 4th. I promise, I am going into it open-minded. I continue to be open-minded. Like, I'm really ready for this to evolve into something great. But this feels like, okay, I'm gonna give you a creative writing project. Write down a cliche phrase. Write a list of cliche phrases, the ones that you regularly hear in your life. So like, it's not, here's one. It's not the amount of years in your life, it's the amount of life in your years. Okay, now take that and write a 2-page story that represents that motto. There was this 2-page story about people who build houses in the mountains because they think that it makes them live longer or something, and it's all related to time. But it's actually just a big metaphor for like why people shouldn't be stuck in their ways, because like innovation is so important. They start with like, in this world there are 2 times. Some people perceive time this way and some people perceive time this way. But it's all just like a metaphor for something. And there'll be a story about time travel, but it's not actually about time travel. It's like reflections of the real world, but just like trying to say something. It's not a critique. Like, that's what storytelling is. Coming up with something that you want to say and then telling a story to say it. It's just like too dorky for me. I'm gonna tell you my takeaway, or the takeaway that I think you're supposed to have by the end of every story. There's probably 100 of them. Let's begin. Okay, the takeaway from the next story would be time is an illusion, which is from Einstein. When I talk about these like quotes and cliches, like they all come back to ideas that he obviously had. Okay, the next story actually spelled out the takeaway for me. So at the end, it was after 2 pages. It was like, the past has no impact on the present, and the present has no impact on the future, and basically nothing matters. And that one was probably inspired by the quote, the distinction between the past, present, and future is only a stubbornly persistent illusion. Thanks, Einstein. Okay, I might be chuckling along with my reading, but I'm actually not mad at this book. I just encountered our first of 3 interludes. There's a little illustration, and essentially we're reading about Einstein in these like short 3 pages this time of Einstein like reflecting kind of on his dreams. So I understand the goal of the book. As cheesy as it feels, like the whole point is that Einstein has developed these ideas and theories because of these dreams that he's having. So he dreams up this like world where people interpret time differently, and then he comes up with this theory. This last one, I think the takeaway was living in the moment. I don't know the specific quote, but it was like basically summed up in 3 sentences. The whole world is gonna end. Everybody knows that the world's gonna end at this specific time. So everybody chooses to get along and not judge each other, and the world's a better place. I just read 2 more stories where the takeaway was live in the moment. Like, stop thinking about the past, don't regret things, don't think about the future, just live in the moment and enjoy what you have while you have it, because that's all you have, because time is an illusion. Oh my god, you guys, the next one was about living in the moment. This next one was very uplifting. It ended with the paragraph, the tragedy of this world is that no one is happy, whether stuck in a time of pain or of joy. The tragedy of this world is that everyone is alone. We just had another interlude, and again, while I'm making fun of this book, I actually don't hate it, but I feel like the interludes are the weakest parts. And then I just read another story where the takeaway is, oh, what was it? Oh, live in the moment. Time is precious, yada, yada, yada. Appreciate what you have. Live in the fucking moment. Okay, the next one, it seemed like it was trying to say, live in the moment, but it was also about, what's that one quote about, like, if you never try anything new. Come on, Einstein. Anyone who's never made a mistake has never tried anything new. No, I don't think it went that far. It was more about living in the moment. This one started, imagine a world in which there is no time, only images. And then there's 3 pages, 4 pages where it just lists things. The eye of a needle, dew on leaves, a mother in her bed, the first kiss, a yellow brush, an open drawer, 2 friends at a cafe, a young woman on a bench, a man and woman naked, a room of 4 walls, an eggshell. What a roller coaster this was. This book had me in the middle third, not gonna lie. I was like, okay, I'm on board. We're doing parables. I got it. Or allegory. It's been a long time since I took an English course. Grasping what the book was trying to do is important, and I started to enjoy it, but then it just got clearly very repetitive and just kept saying the same thing over and over again, and the same takeaway from every story. There were 30 dreams in here in 140 pages. That's too many dreams. Halfway through, I really thought I could rate this like 4 or 5 stars. I was like, okay, like I can get into the groove of this. Like, I think it's silly, but I can also appreciate what it's doing. But then, no. Wow, that was really just a ride I went on in this last hour of my life. But you know what? I can't take it back. I can't focus on the past. I can't think about the future. I just have to live in the moment. Some of it was for me. Most of it wasn't. How the fuck do I rate this book? A 2? A 3? If we're going based on expectation, definitely low. She says, after she literally put, I like books that play with time in her questionnaire. I just like more tangible elements in my books as opposed to existential, but if I didn't know how to describe that on my questionnaire, obviously they wouldn't know that that's what I was looking for. So the other 2 books that came in my page 1 subscriptions over the last couple months are right here. This one is called Burning Girls and Other Stories, and this one is Get in Trouble, which is also a collection of short stories. I find it so strange that I ended up with 3 short story collections. You know, if nothing else, they look nice together. These covers match. I do love short story collections. I think they lucked out that I like short story collections. I don't, because there isn't a personalized note or connection with anybody. I don't know the reasoning behind anything. Like, I don't know if they did check my Goodreads. I don't know anything about like the actual picking. However, I do have a channel member, thank you Isabella, who used to work for page 1 and gave me a little bit of insight. She told me that they do look back on what has been sent to you before. So that's something that I was just interested in, is if they pull up like each time they pick. First of all, I wanted to know, like, did one person pick all 3 of these and then it was sent out subsequent months? Or is it just like somebody in the moment at the store that day pick something? And it does sound like the latter is true, but they look back on what other people have selected for you. So I'm sure the intent of that is to make sure you don't get any repeats, but because it doesn't exist in a feedback loop, other than that, there's nothing really helpful to like look back on what people have received if it's not going to really impact your next selection. Because like, if I didn't specifically ask for a short story collection in my form, and then you had seen that 2 other books that I've sent were short story collections, I feel like you wouldn't choose a short story collection again. So I doubt that the selection goes that far as to like actually look into what the books are that were sent before. It probably just like gives you like a cover. So I read 3 stories from each of these, and they were both strange. This was strange and I hated them. This was strange and I really enjoyed them. So I think I am gonna finish this one up in the next couple days because I am really enjoying the stories. This one, I don't know, will probably get donated. Also, I have a feeling that giving that feedback that like this book I didn't like, because they do ask for your feedback, and then they replace the book if you don't like it, which like I don't care enough to ever do. But I'm assuming that it is on a case-by-case basis, and like that feedback doesn't go into the next books that are selected. Like, I don't think your feedback is ever applied for the future books that you're going to get. And maybe if I hadn't had such a great experience with my TBR, with the personal connection and the reasoning behind the picks and the ability to impact the next book that you get, I might have perceived this experience even better. But yeah, they did all fit into the weirdness that I was asking for. There's fantastical or science fiction elements to all of these. Beyond making content around this, I would never like resubscribe to this anyway, but that would be the case whether these picks were perfect or not. I've got to move on. Oh no, another book about time. So this is The Midnight Bargain. It's going to take me significantly longer to read, so I'll check in with you over the next couple days. It says Beatrice Claiborne practices magic in secret and dreams of pursuing it as her calling as men do. So I think we're talking about like feminism, the patriarchy, expectations placed on women. Beatrice summons a spirit to get her grimoire back, but then she falls in love, and if she decides to pursue this relationship, she's sacrificing her magic identity and dreams. Oh my god, it's about possibly regretting the path not taken. I don't know. This is a good spin-off. People think I want to read things about clocks. Last night, I unexpectedly got to page 150 of The Midnight Bargain. I'm stopping at the bookstore to pick up a couple things that I'll show you, but I don't have a vlog anymore because I'm in like the Best Spot in the parking lot, which means there's people everywhere. I was expecting to have to park at the very end, but it's really hot out, so I'm glad that I found this spot. I'll be right back. Okay, I got my books and I've reparked, and now my battery's gonna die. So I'm so sorry. I also just got a lot of caffeine, so I think it's gonna be a great night. I have a live show to do, a movie night. It's gonna be great. What should I update you on, the book or the books I bought? I'll run through this really quick because I'm gonna talk about it again later when I'm actually finished with it. But I also picked up the audiobook, and I am preferring the audiobook because there's basically this character. Actually, I don't know how to pronounce any of these characters' names, so the audiobook is helping with that, though I don't remember any of them. We have a main character who makes a bargain with a spirit at the beginning, and then the spirit and her like communicate kind of in her mind, like the spirit's controlling what she does. And when the spirit speaks, where is it? It has little like colons around it, which makes sense, but it's throwing me off. So I picked up the audiobook, and I really like the audiobook. We've got like kind of a classic story of a girl, and due to like societal and magical circumstances, has to get in with a good family, a rich family, find a man, and as you do, you find a man who seems to be perfect, who's interested in you, and you don't fully understand why, and then his rich, powerful family like doesn't like you. So that's what's going on so far, and I love commentary we've already gotten and certain challenges she's already faced. And there's all of this mage stuff, because only like married men can be mages. And I tabbed two things that I really liked, where the men were having a conversation and they were like, this isn't fit for women, and the women were like, this has to do with our fertility and you don't think we need to be involved in this conversation. And then another one that's about like child rearing, and how basically women who decide not to have children or can't have children aren't seen as full adults. So things that definitely translate into real world stuff, but in a magical setting, which is one of my favorite things. I'm quite enjoying this, and I'm really excited to see where it goes. Now, for what I picked up, I have two things that are secret that I'm not gonna show you. I picked up Ace of Spades, which everyone's been talking about. I really should have had it on my most anticipated of the year. But I grabbed this, and then I had a pre-order sitting there for a while of Honey and Ishu's Guide to Fake Dating. I don't know when I'm gonna read either of these, but I have like a blue and pink Instagram theme in my mind that I'm excited about. So that's that. And then of course I couldn't just pick up the things that I ordered. I had to take a quick browse, and I found myself really gravitating towards the word cosmos, because I'm already currently listening to an audiobook, this one, but the cover was so beautiful I just wanted to buy it. It's called The Disordered Cosmos, A Journey into Dark Matter, Space-Time, and Dreams Deferred, which I will talk to you about in my wrap-up, assuming that I'm gonna finish it. And then I just saw this one, and it's called Letters in a Bruised Cosmos, Poems by Liz Howard. I don't read enough poetry. I usually tend to like the poetry that I do pick up, so I figured, like, let's just grab it. And this is rooted in a history of knowledge of Western and Indigenous astrophysical science. So I'm in a science mood. Final thoughts on The Midnight Bargain. I am giving the book 4 stars. I'm giving the service, because I need to rate like how I think these all worked for me. I'm giving it a 5. I looked back on what I asked for from Indigo, and I said I like to be scared, confused, and weirded out. So horror, sci-fi, light fantasy. I wanted something adult, yes. Something new, yes. author of color, yes. Standalone, yes. I wouldn't say I was scared or weirded out, but those are the kind of vibes. Like, this is a fantasy romance. This one I didn't ask specifically not to have a romance, from what I recall. But this is the type of romance that I enjoy, is what the book is trying to say and what the book is doing plot-wise and magic system and all of these conversations. That's the focus of the book, and then the romance is there, but it's not like the only thing to care about. Beatrice has this love interest I told you about, Ianthe, and what I liked most about it is that it wasn't this like red herring. He didn't like change roles throughout the book. He didn't become this like perfect love interest who like changed the entirety of society because he was in love with the main character. And I feel like that is something that I don't love about this mix of fantasy and romance sometimes, is the love interest like always turns out to, this isn't a spoiler because like it's a romance, like they are supposed to be together. But what happens so often is this love interest like turns out to be somebody else, or just becomes like the focus of the story because he's just so perfect and incredible. I loved what his role was in the book and the support that he gave and the understanding he had. At no point was I questioning any motives, but I also didn't feel this immense passion for this relationship, which I think is the only reason I wouldn't give it a 5. Even though the service only gave 2 book recommendations, I do like that there was a novel, there was a short story collection. Obviously I only read one of the things that they suggested, so if I had read the other, I could have a more well-rounded opinion on the entire service, but for it being free and the quick turnaround, I'm really happy with the selection that I got. Now we're on to the next book. This is Never Have I Ever, and of course I selected this book for myself, but as far as like the blind date with a book service put on by the bookstore, I think what I can look at the end of this is, did the book do all of the things that were teased and listed to represent the book in its wrapping? I'm going to take this book with me, I think, to the beach today. I'm just going to hang out and read and see how it goes. So roll the B-roll while I read you the synopsis and read it to myself. Amy Way is proud of her ordinary life and the simple pleasures that come with it. Her greatest joy is her family, her devoted professor husband, her spirited 15-year-old stepdaughter, her adorable infant son. But Amy's sweet, uncomplicated life begins to unravel when the mysterious Angelica Rue arrives on her doorstep one book club night. Sultry and magnetic, Rue keeps the wine flowing and lures the group into a game of spilling secrets. Everyone thinks it's naughty, harmless fun. Only Amy knows better. Something wicked has come her way, a she-devil in a pricey red sports car who seems to know the terrible truth about who she is and what she once did. When they're alone, Rue tells her that if she doesn't give her what she wants, what she deserves, she will make Amy pay for her sins, one way or another. To protect her family and the life she's built, Amy must beat the devil at her own clever game, matching wits with Rue in an escalating war of hidden pasts and unearthed secrets. Amy knows the consequences if she can't beat Rue. What terrifies her is everything she could lose if she wins. Okay, I'm just popping in to tell you that I'm going to spend the entire week reading this. Like, this isn't one that I'm going to be able to sum up by the end of the day and then move on to another book. So while I'm reading this, I'm also going to read the next pick, but you're going to see footage from the next like week, I think, spliced in for this book. I don't like it. The book opens with this game. It starts by this woman infiltrating this friendship group. I am not a stranger to the concept of like the woman next door becoming obsessed with your life and sabotaging you or like threatening you or like revealing your secrets and whatever. I didn't quite realize that that entire game section would be like the first 20 pages of the book, and now the rest is going to be like that back and forth dynamic. The reason I picked this up for the game, like the game gets more dangerous and like there's more levels to it. That's why I love a game, not just to introduce a weird new neighbor into the group. The word spirit animal was used 100 times in the first 20 pages. That's how this woman introduces herself to the whole group. She's like, tell me what your spirit animal is, and then she goes around like giving everyone a spirit animal, explains why they're that spirit animal. I hate that phrase. I don't understand how it's still in a book in 2019. When this was published, like And even the main character has this little commentary and is like, I bet these women have never even spoken to a spirit animal before. And I'm like, what? So with that type of setup and lack of like awareness, I want to say, I just don't have high hopes for the way that this book is going to handle like a lot of things. I'm not loving the writing style. I don't have high expectations, but then it has a lot of potential to surprise me. So I'll just check in with you once in a while. So it's like a week later. I finally powered through this terrible book. I'm trying to be unapologetically honest about all of the terrible books I've been reading recently, and you have empowered me. I've really appreciated a lot of your comments on my most recent vlog. It remains not fun to only share negative thoughts, but that's all I've got for you today, because guess what? 1 star. 1 star. It doesn't happen very often, but I really hated this book. Keeping in mind that I really don't give many thrillers over 3 stars anyway, so like this isn't the most shocking thing in the world. Especially with domestic thrillers, it's so easy to lean cheesy, and this one totally did. It fell into a couple tropes that I hate. It did have like one little twist that got me, so that's a win, but it's that type of twist that doesn't really add to the tension, because like you already know what's gonna go down later in the book. And sometimes I'm okay with being able to predict what's gonna happen, but this one was almost like in a really lazy way. I don't know. I disagree with the blind date pitch. But the thing is, every single like element of a thriller is gonna do something for someone and not do, like everyone's gonna interpret everything so differently. So first off, it said it was a deadly game, which it's not. Like I said, the game is only the very beginning, but that's more like a book thing than the pitch thing. It's just, we need to do better at naming thrillers. I know that this grabs attention, but like if the book's not about the game, if the game exists for 2 pages, like let's not call it that. I've probably read so many thrillers that are named terribly, but I'm thinking like Gone Girl, like she was gone. That was the whole book. Like, The Woman in Cabin 10, it was about a woman who was in cabin 10. That's the whole story. The Girl on the Train, it's about a girl on a train for a good portion of the book. No, yeah, I've read a lot of thrillers that don't have accurate titles. Whatever, it is how the book kicks off. It's the catalyst of everything. What else did they say? Dark twists. Yeah, I would more call them gratuitous, unnecessary, unexpected, and strange twists. But sure, dark as well. Diabolically entertaining. I think that implies that the characters are diabolical, especially when we have a villain. Such a clear villain from the start of the story. I'm sorry, but she was not intimidating at any point. She brought the cheese. Plus her name is Rue. But again, this does describe what the book thinks that it is, because it also says in the synopsis that they have matching wits and like Amy must beat the devil at her own clever game. But the thing that Blind Date with a Book does is it describes the synopsis. It just rewords elements of the synopsis. So I rate this book a 1. I rate this service maybe a 4, because I don't know that it had like a personal perspective on the blind date, and like that's what's valuable about a blind date that someone else sets you up on. There should be a little bit of a personal touch. But yeah, I had fun like picking it out and checking out something new, but it was not good. Hello, it's hot as shit and it's like 7 o'clock at night. We're heading to Liam's like graduation ceremony from elementary school today. We apparently just drive by and he walks a red carpet and gets photos taken, so I'll film that for you. I am now reading The Starless Sea and I'm not very far into it, 16 pages, and I'm already really into it. But something that happened at 16 pages is the reference to Sarah Waters, which is the book I didn't choose, and now it's coming back to haunt me. It is a book about books. There's going to be a lot of books referenced. I wonder if anyone has done a video concept where they read all the books referenced in here, because it's a book about books, and Zachary, our main character, reads a lot of books. Anyway, I just saw part of the audiobook is narrated by my favorite narrator, Bonnie Turpin, so I think I might check a little bit of that out as well. Hello, family. Very different levels of
some of us are graduating today.
Dress up here. Oh, you're not graduating?
I'm not graduating.
Okay, but if you were,
I'd probably still be wearing this.
Experience was when all the classes had a water gun fight together in the field, and he would like to thank his mom and dad and all the teachers he's had because they've been so nice to him. Congratulations, Liam.
As usual, I brought my book to work and then didn't actually take the time to sit and read during my lunch, which I always plan to and then never do. So I'm still not very far into it. But it is way too freaking hot out today. I feel like no matter what the weather is like, I'm like, it's a perfect day to read. Like when it rains, I'm like, ooh, the cozy vibes, perfect to read. And then when it snows, I'm like, snowy vibes, perfect day to sit inside and read. And now that it's super sunny, it just feels like the perfect day to sit inside and read. It's funny because I was just looking at the description of the book because I don't think I have introduced it to you in this portion, in this part too. And I think that this is a different description than the other book had. I think it gives the same vibes, but it is definitely pitched differently. And I discovered that in the first like 10 pages when I realized what the book was actually about. In this book, we're following a character named Zachary. And it says he stumbles across a mysterious library containing details from his own life among the pages. I feel like that wasn't in the description of the other one. But yeah, I was definitely surprised when I started reading and I saw him pick up a book that was like about his own life. I guess that's the whole idea of the book, but I didn't fully know that. Following the clues inside, he's guided to a masquerade party, a dangerous secret club, and finally to a labyrinth filled with stories hidden far beneath the surface of the earth. But when the labyrinth is threatened, Zachary must race through its twisting tunnels and crowded ballrooms searching for the end of his story. I do really like the audiobook. I think I said it's like full cast. So I think I'll probably bounce back and forth between the physical book and the audiobook while I hang out the whole evening. I'm sure we end up at the beach a lot of days that I don't even share with you because it's just for like a quick dip after dinner because it's 30 seconds down the road. But I'll try to vlog me listening to this for the evening, making dinner. Am I inserting the clips right now? Going to the beach, watching the sunset. Actually, probably not sunset because the sun's been setting at like 8 p.m. and that's Liam's bedtime. What else am I doing? Lying in bed pretending that I like can't see you with the camera, like I don't know you're watching me. Love this b-roll. Oh, you want an update on the book? Absolutely not. I will update you on my life though. Liam is currently somewhere back there, headed to a tennis lesson. And I'm gonna go for a walk. There's a nice trail here along the lake. I've taken you there before, and that'll be how I get through the next hour and a half of the audiobook. I'm probably halfway through it at this point. We're bouncing around a lot of different things, and I prefer some sections over others. Also, if you wanted an update on the weather, yesterday it was super hot, and today it's just starting to rain, which might ruin the walk and the tennis lesson a little. I'm not totally sure, but I feel like this always happens right after like the hottest day is it pours rain, and I'm sure there was a Magic School Bus episode on why that happens, and I don't know if it's like a valley thing or a desert thing or what the reasoning is. But yeah, I'm gonna go get wet after I just blow dried and straightened my hair. This is the outcome.
Your phone's gonna get really wet. Is it water resistant?
No. Just kidding. We're hanging out in the rain together on our walk. I'm not reading a book because I have a child.
Hello. Wait, that guy on the bike? Don't look at him swerving.
Don't say he's drunk.
Look at his path.
He's just having fun. You don't even know what drunk is.
Yes, I do. We have too much alcohol.
Okay, but
nah, let's just keep talking.
so I'm almost done. I'm not done yet. I'm really struggling. You know, at the beginning of the video where I held up my stack and I predicted my favorites, And I put this at the top and I said it could either be a 1-star or a 5-star. I have to be honest. I only said that to like pretend I wanted to be objective, but like I thought this was gonna be a 5-star. Like everything in my heart, everything in my soul was like, this is gonna be a 5-star. Like this is gonna be one of those books that I put off for so long and I'm gonna look back on and think, I can't believe I waited so long to read this book. It's one of my all-time favorites. Like I really thought, but I have been absolutely slogging, is that a word, through this book. I'm pushing this video to like a week later than I wanted to post it because it's taking me so damn long to read this book and I don't like it, but I'm not gonna DNF it because I know someone will say if you just finished it you'll love it, and maybe that's true. Maybe it'll turn around. I don't think so. Here's a fun fact about me you might have heard me say before, but I hate stories within stories. And maybe you're thinking, well, then why did you pick this up to begin with? Well, I can't reference any now. Like, my brain is just not working. But I know that this year, I have read some stories within stories because I know that I've said the words out loud in a video. I know I've edited me saying this. I've heard it out of my own mouth that I normally don't like stories within stories. But like this time I really liked it, and I guess I do love this thing now. So I thought I had changed. I thought I'd evolved as a reader. No, I don't like this. I don't see the point. I don't understand the purpose of anything. We're reading about this character that just like has no, like, just isn't like, he doesn't have a goal besides just like getting to the end of the story. I haven't filmed any clips to tell you what this is about because I don't know what this is about. I don't know what I'm reading. I don't get it. It's another one of those books that's just making me feel stupid, like I'm supposed to like get something that I'm just not getting. And I know that there are so many of you who told me that I'm gonna hate this, and I'm so sorry that I'm making you watch this reaction to it. But there are all of these stories because like this is a book, it's a love letter to literature. But every time another story is introduced, my first reaction is, why? And my second reaction is, can I just get back to the other thing I was just reading? Though I'm not enjoying that anyway, but I'd rather be there because I think I understand what's going on. I'll see you in a second. I can't explain this, so like I'm not even gonna try. I have no explanation to give, no reasoning, because anything that I say is gonna contradict something else. Like another book that I love. By calling this like meandering and plotless and whatever else I could try to reason of why I didn't connect with it. There have been other books that I love that I could describe the exact same way. So like, I don't fucking know. I don't know what to say. I've loved books before with heavy metaphorical writing. It's kind of like when you read a poem. I don't know if this is relatable to people, maybe. But when you read a poem and you don't really get it, but you're like, like the language is nice and like I know that it's doing something and I can get on board for that experience, but not for 500 pages. So the book itself is getting 2 stars. This is so many people's like favorite book of all time, and I really wish that I loved it because I don't like not liking books. It's about people having to go through like tests to see if they can be trusted in this like fantastical underworld, and there's all of these different stories and all of these different timelines, and there was a romance, but as promised it wasn't the central theme. And I want to like clarify because I know that at this point my favorite book of the video has been a romance, and just in case anybody is confused, it's not that I don't like romance. The reason I requested no romance in some of my requests is because, especially when it comes to queer LGBTQIA+ titles, I find it difficult to find things that aren't romance centric. So I was looking for custom recommendations, but you could argue that I did a poor job because I picked the one that I was already slightly interested in. So I should have really taken a different recommendation. I should have perhaps read something else. So I'm glad that I had the foresight and I saw your comments coming. and I picked up 2 Eden Robinsons. I think these were the 2 that were recommended to me, and I am just accepting, like, you know, maybe Peter knew what he was talking about. I borrowed this one from the library because this is the library themed one, and I bought this one because though these books weren't tagged on like Goodreads as being what I was looking for, I know that Eden Robinson is well loved. I know that people have recommended me her books before, and I think perhaps there will be some conversations about like gender in here. But I'm gonna read the first couple chapters of each of these and perhaps finish one and talk about it. Okay, so the first chapter of both of these actually really intrigued me, but of course I ended up gravitating towards the one that isn't part of a series, though now I realize I made a mistake because this is the one, upon looking at some reviews, that has some like gender and binary like discussions. This one I still wouldn't say fit the parameters of, though it didn't focus on a romance, it didn't feature an overtly like queer LGBTQIA two-spirit character. With that said though, it was a great recommendation because I gave it 5 stars. I'm so glad. I really enjoyed this, and people who've been recommending it to me recently, thank you so much. I listened to quite a bit of it via audio and really enjoyed it if you need an audiobook recommendation. It also taught me how to pronounce Haisla, which is embarrassing because I am familiar with the Haida Nation, which is nearby the Haisla Nation. I'm always looking to read from more First Nations authors, so it was great that that was included in the list of recommendations that I didn't fully acknowledge in the moment. We're basically following Lisa. At the beginning, her brother has like vanished from his fishing boat, and then we start kind of from her childhood and just different portions of her life, different stories from different moments of her growing up. And that's a type of storytelling style I really, really enjoy. So I will be picking up more Eden Robinson 100%. And I'm glad that I made time to go back and read another recommendation from the list because maybe it was being a little unfair. So though I didn't have this in my original stack of ranking what I'm gonna love, I'll have to include it at the end, and I'm glad that I found something that I loved. It is time to get into Dorothy Must Die, the Etsy blind date with a book pick. I think I'm just gonna end up reading all day. I had other plans. I was gonna film a lot today. I have like stacks of books that I was gonna do stuff for, but as usual my AC is not working properly and I'm just like instantly sweating. It's 10 a.m. and already 30 degrees out, and it's supposed to get to 42 today. I also need some caffeine. I have nothing in the house, so I should probably get groceries. But it's too hot. It's too hot for me. I don't really know what this is about, and I feel like I'm already gonna rate the blind date with the book experience and give it a high rating because, to be frank, like the blind date with a book thing is not for me. I feel like the concept of blind date with a book is for people who can't find something new to read or like don't know what they want to read and they need a little bit of help. I just thought it'd be fun for a video. This isn't something I would normally do because like my TBR is aggressively large. But this is a good idea for expanding your taste because since this isn't something I probably would have picked up just because YA fantasy series isn't something that I gravitate towards. I say that while recognizing I picked a YA fantasy and sci-fi like listing, and I am going into this book with a completely open mind. I think I said it in the other video, but like this could have gone so poorly. Like this is a great scenario to come out of it. It's not something I've already read. It's not something I already own. It isn't high fantasy. It's like a real world mixed with this fantastical world situation. It is a well-beloved book, so like it'll probably be great. Hi, don't mind me and my face. We're going through a heat wave right now. I wasn't planning on vlogging today, but I was just uploading part 1 and I realized at the last second that I misread the Etsy listing and I'm so embarrassed and I really want to apologize to the Curl Up Collective. I think I was just like, I did all of these in one day, right? So that's like 5 different blind date with a book services. Not only that, and filling out all of these forms, but I also was looking at like 30 different Etsy listings. And I think some got muddled together in my brain because when I went to fill out the one that I actually filled out and it asked for personalizations, because of all of the other listings I was looking at that asked for a custom, like if you wanted to ask for anything specific, that was the box to do it in. So that's what I did. And then I'm just rewatching it now and I realized that that personalization was just for like the custom package, not a custom book. I'm literally so embarrassed. Like, that person must think I am so just like full of myself that I could like ask for a custom listing. It asked for my Goodreads link and then I just interpreted that as like, oh, take a look and see what I like so you can help pick out something custom. No, that's not what it was. I didn't expect her to be able to fulfill it anyway. Like, it was just a little bonus if she could. But please ignore anything that I say about like hoping for something else, because that is so unfair of me and I really should have read it more thoroughly, and I'm so sorry to the seller. Oh my god. But we're following a girl, Amy. She's just a normal girl in the normal world dealing with like shitty stuff in her real life and then ends up in Oz. I love how retellings always do something totally different. Like, some retellings are, I feel like I've said this before, some retellings are just the exact story being retold, like modern day, but some retellings actually take the original thing and like have a character who's existing in that world that is already like known and established in the real world. So in this one, like, she knows who Dorothy is in The Wizard of Oz and like it's just a movie. So she ends up in Oz, and then from there, I guess she learns that like the things that she learned from the book or the movie aren't what they appear. So like the good witch isn't actually a good witch and Dorothy is like corrupt or something. So I'll check in with you throughout the day. Okay, I got my caffeine. It's very good and I'm like 80 pages into the book. There's been a good amount of setup and I think we're about to meet Dorothy, and so far the writing is fine and I feel fine about it. I'm stopping at my mom's to do a couple things, and as usual I'm giving her a couple books to read so she can then convince me to actually read them. So I'm giving her Darker Shade of Magic and Vita Nostra, which so many of you told me I'm gonna love, The Centaur's Wife, and The Burning Girls, and then she can tell me if I should read them. I probably will anyway, but I want her to read them first. It's my favorite thing. I forget what this heat does to you, is it makes you so sleepy. So I just took like an hour nap and wasted an hour I could have been reading. I'm trying to keep my blinds as closed as possible to keep the heat out. So I didn't have my contacts in because I just took a nap, but my face looks weird, I think. I'm a third of the way through this. I don't love it. It's like a mix of Dorothy from The Wizard of Oz and Alice in Wonderland. Like, the world that she goes to is so like quirky and weird, but it's also a lot darker than those two things. I was interested in Amy's stuff like in the real world, but what she's going through now with like training and learning, and it's just not like something that I guess I enjoy reading about. So I'm struggling for sure. I'm gonna go eat something spicy. I feel like that will counteract my tiredness because I don't have any more caffeine around here. I'm not leaving the house again, and I didn't have the energy to stop at a grocery store or anything. And also, I think there's something about increasing your body temperature when it's hot, because then what? I don't know. You don't feel the heat as much. I feel like that's something I learned when I worked at Tim Hortons. It was like the middle of summer and I was told to actually recommend people pick up hot coffee in the middle of summer instead of only iced coffee, because it actually like does something to your whatever. So I can't remember if I made the pickled garlic with you before in a vlog, but I've really come around to this combo thanks to TikTok. Yeah, that's great. Do you have some garlic?
I would rather die. Apparently you put 2 garlic cloves in your nose and cleans out your snot.
Your nose. So would you like some?
No!
I really wish I had something more interesting to say, but this just wasn't for me. I think I'm giving it 2 stars, which is not like a great way to end this whole thing. But naturally, a lot of the things I didn't love about it are due to it being the first book in a series. Like, I didn't find this very satisfying or conclusive, and maybe because it's not supposed to be. And I'm okay with a cliffhanger ending as long as the book has intrigued me enough to pick up the next book in the series, obviously, but that doesn't happen super often. I think if I was a bigger fan of The Wizard of Oz, this could have been more for me. If I had read this like 5 years ago, maybe it would have been more for me. Let's all recognize I'm not the intended target audience. Let me clarify once again, solely on me. I think that though the main character, who I name I somehow forgot, Amy, she has like a bunch of different kind of names throughout this ish, and I like just forgot. Well, I found her interesting at the beginning. At maybe the halfway point though, okay, let me tell you my actual journey through this book. We could split it into 5 different chunks, and each chunk I would give less and less stars than the one before. So like it started off at a 4, then a 3.5, then a 3, then a 2. And Amy's like personality and choices, though it's natural for a person to change throughout a book, and that's like often something that I'm looking for, in this case the growth of the character wasn't in the direction that I feel like it almost should have been. Her choices got more and more confusing as the book went on, and she kept doing things that were really out of character. It's like her motivation got really lost, and she kept just like doing things, and I was like, but why? Like, I need more of an explanation of why you're having this type of reaction in this moment, why you're not emotionally impacted by this thing that you would have been 100 pages ago. It also takes a lot for me to love books that have like training sequences, and a lot for me to love books that have to do with espionage and like faking an identity and pretending to be someone else, even if it's for like a good reason. That's just something that I struggle with in books a lot. But sometimes those things do work for me. So once again, it's one of those things that I struggle to really explain fully my rating for. Anyway, not for me. I think I talked about the whole concept of this service and who it's for. And as always, it gave me content. So A+ in my book. Final thoughts. Let me show you the ranking that I predicted, and now I'll show you the ranking that I ended up with. All of these bottom 4 were 1 and 2 stars. So like, yeah, I put the starless sea at the top and it's in the 2nd position, but it really could be right here too. These 2 were probably the least surprising. Like, if you had told me those were gonna be my ratings at the end of it, I probably wouldn't have been shocked. These 2 were the most disappointing based on my hopes and dreams. And this one was a pleasant surprise, not that I thought it would be bad, but because prior to this video I'd never really heard about it. Of course, in addition to those 5 that I started out the video knowing I was going to read, I also picked up 2 other things. This one that I loved more than anything, and this one that I'm still reading but really enjoying. So my final ranking looks more something like this. As far as the services, the number 1 things that I would recommend is definitely utilizing your library. If you have one near you, and if they have any type of service in person or online, totally give it a try. I feel like if your local indie bookstore has a blind date with a book service, you should definitely try it out. My number 1 recommendation would be Ask Indigo, and I think it should be available to pretty much anybody who has access to the website, even if you're not in Canada or going to buy from Indigo. I actually think I could do an entire video with just Indigo recommendations because I was really happy with what I got. And then blind date with a book, whether it be Etsy or some type of other seller. If you find one that you have a good experience with or you've tried one before, definitely link them down below and let everybody know, because it is definitely fun having that really extra personalized like packaging, and it feels like somebody took their time to pick something out. I'm sure curating those things is really fun and a lot of work, but it really is for somebody who's struggling to find books for themselves. Lastly, page 1. I cannot recommend them over other similar services that I've tried. I'm sure those people have an equally fun and difficult time picking something out. I like that there are unique things that come in the box, but especially for me, justifying that shipping charge outside of creating content around it, like, that's really tough. But I feel that way about ordering pretty much any book box, so it's really like a personal preference for everybody. And it is great that they're looking to hear back from you if you like what you got and if you want something else. Like, I'm sure that is an expensive thing to fulfill, so that's good of them to do that. Those are my thoughts on all of my blind date with the books. I've been working on this video since January, so thank you very much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this two-parter, and I will see you next time. Bye!